I am Stephen Otemkwe. I did monitoring, evaluation, research and learning. I have, I think I can say, it's section 1 and 2 is for all of us in these questions. And then the IMLU programming.
So what informs this training today is that we have the edited or rather expanded version of the Istanbul Protocol that was launched on 2022 June. And so this document has been alive. It's a non-binding document that has been here from 1999. So now that it has been edited, we deemed it fit to train our professionals who obviously use it on a day-to-day basis.
It was edited, what or what we did better on and what do you think this one was?
Like I said, expanded, especially because when it came into force in 1999, what we saw as torture or, forensic documentation at the time was very linear and very, very streamlined and very small. What we have seen right now is that torture has become very dynamic. It has expanded to other spaces. Before, in 1999, we only saw it maybe in deaths in custody or maybe during arrests. Now, we are seeing it in mental facilities, in hospitals, and so it has been expanded to cover these other new spaces, and it has other ethical codes that we didn't have at the time. So what we intend to achieve today is that we have pathologists, counselors, psychologists, and lawyers who are in the room, and we hope that they will be able to undertake the training to understand what is expected of them moving forward, especially because with the expanded version, there are certain things that they may not have been trained on. For instance, how to take photos, how to undertake documentation, how to continuously do psycholegal assessment, and how to process trauma clients maybe outside of the vicinity of a hospital or a court. So in terms of goodwill, you'll notice that over time, Kenya has always been a key player in understanding that there's no amnesty for torture and related violations. First and foremost, all our constitutions, the two that we've had, understand that torture is not something that will be tolerated at whatever point. So you'll notice, for instance, in courts, you cannot use evidence that has been either obtained through torture. Right? So there's an understanding in every other law that we have that torture is not something that can be condoned. I'll give you another example. In Prevention of Torture Act, you'll notice that the government, or rather the state at the time, in the spirit of the Constitution, understood that we needed even institutions that would ensure that we investigate, commission, and ensure prosecution of torture and related violations. For example, Internal Affairs Unit, we have the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights and the Independent Policing Oversight Authority. So in terms of goodwill, we have that in the law, but in practice is where we have a challenge. But I believe that the reception has been beautiful in terms of the professionals and the societies that we work with, especially professional societies.
Any call to action?
The call to action is that we now ensure that we popularize the Istanbul Protocol, because every time people in Kenya hear Istanbul Protocol, they think you must be an activist. You really not be an activist. And I don't know why people fear it, because it's not a binding document. It's simply a document that gives you a standard in which you investigate, document, and prepare prosecution for torture and related violations. There's nothing to it other than giving a standardized and internationally applicable standard. Yeah. Parting shot, I'd say that torture and related violations is now on the rise, and I'm hoping that the state, civil societies, professional bodies will ensure that they galvanize against this particular practice. It could be me and it could be you tomorrow.
And I will say that the expansion of the Istanbul Protocol also incorporates torture among children, because you realize that initially the component of children as persons who undergo torture was not captured by the initial versions of the Istanbul Protocol. But right now we have a component that captures children and how they undergo trauma, especially psychological trauma, whenever they are tortured.
My concern is Istanbul. When I will have the Nairobi Protocol?
Okay, fine. We need not to have the Nairobi Protocol, because the Istanbul Protocol is an international document which incorporates Kenya as a country. So we need not to have the Nairobi Protocol. But then if need be for us to incorporate the experiences of survivors of torture here in Kenya, then probably we will narrow it down to Nairobi and the experiences of persons who have undergone torture here in Kenya. Though, again, I will say that we have numerous legal instruments here in our country. Because, for instance, we have the Prevention of Torture Act, we have the Mental Health Act, and many others that address issues of issues of torture among, among survivors here in Kenya as a country.
For instance, if we do a forensic autopsy, that will be needed in the court. And also we do forensic medical education training. That is what we are doing here. That is in line with the Istanbul Protocol standard. There are signs and symptoms that they have to check for. For instance, I can give that. If a prisoner comes to me as a doctor and I'm supposed to analyze them, I'm supposed to do a general head to toe exam. So you might find that someone was being beaten at the soles of the feet, something that is hidden. So when the person is seated, you won't see, but when you are examining them, you find hidden forms of torture. So these are some of the things that will be used as evidences while providing for legal opinion to our legal experts. Many medics shy off from medical legal issues, and that is why IMLU we do more advocacy so that they know that they have a role to play in documentation. Either if you're a doctor, a nurse, a clinical officer, you have a role in medical legal issues. People shy off. When they hear anything to do with court, they will usually shy off from presenting.